Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Hot D, baby. Season 1, Episode 8, The Lord of the Tides. In this episode, we have got to decide who is going to be Corlys' successor, even though the man isn't quite dead yet. And then, Viserys, this poor man, Viserys dies. Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm RoShawn.
All right. This episode, RoShawn has much happier feelings this week, so I want you to take things and lead the way on our talk about this episode.
I don't want to lead the way.
Lead the way.
I did love this episode, you guys. I loved it so much. When I watched the first time and it was over, I was just like, where the fuck has this been all season? Like, it would not that the season wasn't, hasn't been good, but you guys know I have had some moments where the season has not been good.
Yep.
And I loved pretty much everything in this episode. I loved the direction. I loved the pacing. We didn't have any weird 20 minutes in pitch black darkness that nobody could see what the fuck was going on.
Only about like 7 or 8 minutes.
It just, Patty Constantine's performance, everybody has been raving about it, and it is deserved, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The makeup on him was so startling.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, so real in a way that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
That, like, it could have, like, that reveal of how badly he looks now and how ill he is, it could have really gone over the top and been almost kind of like dopey,
Yeah.
But for some reason it just worked. And I cried the first time I watched it, and I did a rewatch this morning and I cried again. The dinner scene got me, even though I knew it was coming. Just remarkable. And I haven't had any predictions all season, but I have decided that I don't know what the fuck is going to happen, how it's going to happen, and who's going to do what, except Daemon is going to kill Aemon Targaryen.
Okay.
I am 100% convinced of that. I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to happen, but Daemon is absolutely going to have to murder this fucking kid. And you know what? I am not even mad about it.
Why do you make this prediction with such certainty?
Because I feel like the show is really telling me these moments that we have with Daemon staring down Aemon and looking at each other like that fucking Spider-Man gif, It's just like, I don't see any way around it. It's gotta be coming. I'm not sure of the specific circumstances. Like, will it be after war has been, is raging and they battle, or does it happen in like a unsuspecting moment like we got with Vaemond, where one of them is just like, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
I've had enough and draws the sword, because they, fucking Aemon is just did you see that thing I shared on my page that I don't even know what group I got it from, but some guy, some fandom group, a black group, did like a sort of live tape deal, like running his bullet points for the episode down.
Oh, I did see that. Yes. Yep.
But like just the energy between those two characters, Aemon and Aemon, they're so similar.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was watching it this morning, and when fucking Daemon takes Vaemond's head off and then the camera pans over to Aemon, He had a half a chubby, if not a full chub. His dick was so hard when Daemon took his head off.
I really am not comfortable with any of this right now. I don't like it.
Even though they are opposing sides, if there was like a little cartoon thought bubble over Aemon's head, it would either have been, I wish Daemon was my father, or I wish I could fuck Daemon. It would be one of those two thought bubbles over his head.
Gotcha.
And then when the fight breaks out after Viserys leaves the dinner, and Daemon kind of goes and just sort of breaks it up, gets in between Jason, Luke, and Aemon and Aegon.
Mm-hmm.
He gives Aemon a look and sort of like a smirk. And I don't know. It's coming, y'all. It's coming. But anyway, yeah, I loved this episode.
I saw some pretty funny memes where they had Aemon, and I don't remember what it was that they were like overlaying his face on, but basically it was him saying you weren't supposed to see this, and it's him in his room with tons of pictures of Daemon all over the wall.
See?
And there's an assertion that this is actually about him just idolizing him and designing his own look after him.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But it could go in a variety of directions, so who knows?
Fucking,
who's to say?
Kinea says something like, what did she say? The Aemon has got like Stan vibes from like the fucking Eminem song. And
my God.
She put like a picture of Aemon and then a picture of the kid from the video, from the Eminem video. Oh shit.
So again, I just want to mention for me, because you had said like there's no period where you can't see. I made the mistake once again of watching this during the day. And there's a pretty big section where I was like, "Oh my fucking God! Can we not do this again?" Yeah.
What section?
When they are inside, usually when they're talking, when they're with Viserys in his bedroom,
in the bedroom,
there's like no light in the bedroom or in like out on. I think there's like a sort of balcony area, and there's almost no light there. But yeah, I just wish that they would just not.
Yeah.
I understand that even with his makeup as well, they need to have there be dark to a point to sort of like camouflage some of the CGI and whatnot. That's a big thing, is we're going to make this scene dark when we have like the monster show up, because it's cheaper to CGI it if we don't have to go to too much detail. But yeah, I just was like, I just want to know what's happening, y'all. It's fine.
Yeah, I didn't have any trouble this episode at all. And now that I'm thinking about it, I played with my settings and rewatched, so I could rewatch last week's, right?
Yeah.
And it worked out much better when I went in and fuddled around with everything. And I'm wondering if I never went back and changed it, and if that's why I didn't have any problems with this episode this week.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever went back and reset my settings. I don't remember watching everything else and being like, ew, what's wrong now?
Yeah.
Like, so. I had shared with Natasha before we started recording this article that I found you guys talking about the opening credits and how it is sort of showing us the bloodlines of the various Targaryen rulers.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to let you all know that I missed all of that. And there was just no way I wasn't going to miss it, because it's really each gear is like individual sigils of different people. And y'all, I don't know what their sigils are for each individual person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think it occurred to me that they had them, though in hindsight, of course they did.
Versus I was just, the house sigils.
Yeah, right. I was just out here thinking everybody was signing everything with the house seal, right? I didn't realize that.
That's fair.
But now I'm like, oh, of course not. Of course they each have their...
Yeah, that always makes me go like, ooh, what would I pick? But that's too hard. I can never decide. It's like me trying to customize a video game character. I just take too goddamn long.
Right. I can't even fucking come up with a username without agonizing over it for 4 weeks. Which is one of the reasons why I hate like signing up for anything new. But I'm going to share the article in the group, though people may have already seen it by the time this airs. But I thought it was really interesting, and it's some cool stuff, and it goes into detail with like each gear, how many trails of blood indicating how many children were born of that union. And then after I read it, I went and like rewatched the credits a couple times. trying to like follow it along. And even after I did that, I still missed like a bunch. Like, wait, whose gear is that supposed to be? And what's in that sigil? And what? But so I'll share that in the group too.
I also posted that this and the other one you sent me about the casting in the House of the Dragon sub thread on Discord.
Oh,
so
cool.
Folks can check that out.
All right. So this episode, another time jump, kids, 6 years into the future.
Indeed. And
we get Rhaenys at Driftmark on the throne with Baela next to her and getting the news about Lord Corlys getting injured.
Yeah.
And I have to say, and I meant to like be more mindful of all the performers' names, you know, and some of the names I know. I don't remember the name of the actress that's playing Rhaenys, but she's so good. She's so good.
She's like sexy in that like competent older woman sexy, you know, like yeah. I want to be her.
So this news is not good about Lord Corlys. He's
ain't.
A very severe wound and now has like a fever, which is clearly like the result of infection, right? And it is not looking like it doesn't look like he's going to do well. And he's been off fighting back at the Stepstones because apparently that shit is just never like settled. That part of the world is just not ever trying to be oppressed, I guess. And part of me is low-key rooting for them, even though I don't know what's going on over
there. Yeah, they're just still up to their fucking shenanigans. And her granddaughter, right? That's there and is just like, well, he's very strong. And then Vaemond's walking and going.
Vaemond is literally in the fucking shadows as the Vaester is talking and just like comes creeping out of the shadows.
Like, are you getting tutoring from Larys? Like, what are you doing? Sniff a flower while you're at it. And I just honestly gotta say, I knew shit doesn't go well for him. It doesn't go this way in the like story, but
it doesn't.
I believe he gets his tongue removed, and that is it. I don't think he dies, but they wind up being like exiled or something. There's a whole other thing, but somebody's going to tell you it's fine.
Okay.
But honestly, it's so frustrating because like the man is right. He's right. He's right about everything, but I just don't like him.
Yeah.
I don't like him.
Agree. Listen, when he was pleading his case at the throne, I was of two minds simultaneously, and that made things very difficult for me. One, I know he is not raising his voice in the throne room.
Right?
Like, you are talking with a lot of bass in your voice, sir. I need you to calm the fuck down.
He's over here going, you're not going to tell me. He's the king. Yes, he is. That's his job.
You could run your house like you see fit. Sir, he runs the whole shit. What are you talking about run his house?
His job.
But at the same time, when he's talking about his bloodline, and you stop and think, and I know that there's, we still have the two girls. We have Lena and Rhaena. Is it Rhaena and Baela, right? Are the two girls?
Right, yeah.
And they are true Valyrian children. So the bloodline doesn't die. But we also understand, for the sake of this story and this world, that it's really about the male, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. Vaemond, I guess, doesn't have any children. Never comes up. So I'm assuming Corlys's two children, that was it. And Laenor is now, as far as everybody thinks, is dead, but he's not having no children anyway. So that's it for their bloodline.
Mm.
And when you are facing the end of your family line, whether you believe in that sort of shit or not, when you face it, it's a weird thing.
Did you say you don't think Daemon had any kids?
No, Vaemond.
Oh, Vaemond. Okay.
Right. So
okay,
talking about the Valyrians.
Mm-hmm,
so it doesn't, like, there's been no mention of him having a family. He hasn't said anything about his children or his children's rights to inherit anything. He's only talking about himself as the heir to the Driftmark throne. So when he gives that very impassioned plea about, like, I'm not going to stand and watch my family bloodline in and then be passed over or supplanted by these bastard children.
Right.
There's a real moment of just being like, oh shit, when you are facing the fact that the family line just kind of, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's a weird thing. Like, I don't know, like your dad you have stepbrothers, right? Or half brothers.
I have a half brother. Yeah.
Right. And does your brother have children?
Mm-hmm.
So your father's line is continuing through him and then through their children.
Right. And also my brother has 7 brothers and 8 sisters.
But the brother that you share with your father, that
right,
brother's
him specifically, yeah.
He doesn't, but those brothers and sisters that he has aren't children of your father.
Oh, did I say my brother? I meant my father has 8 sisters and 7 brothers.
Right.
My bad. Okay.
But talking about
half brother, he's the only one, and then he has 3 children.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, for us, like my dad had just the one son and 2 girls, and then the one son, my brother Michael doesn't have any children, and I don't have any children. My father had 2 brothers, 1 full brother, and he didn't have any children, but my dad had a half brother who has children.
Mm-hmm.
So even though like the Curry family line isn't going like, you know, it's not dying off like that dramatic or anything, but my father in particular, his line, you know, like his to him, to his son's son and all that, like that's pretty much, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like my sister has a son. So my father's genes will pass like from him to my sister and then my sister's son. But then that kid doesn't have my father's name because it's my sister's kid. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a weird thing to be like, oh shit. it's
Yeah, this is one of those things that I understand in theory, but I don't like feel any real connection to my father's name. So it doesn't, you know what I mean? It's just like kind of, it feels hypothetical and theoretical.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, so this dude, he comes out here. If he does that thing that I really hate where somebody's like, he's really strong, he'll probably pull through. Will he? I don't know. I've seen much younger, stronger, fitter, better men than him die from this same thing repeatedly. I've probably seen it 80, 100 times.
I like how he comes in as if saying this hurts him more than it hurts them to hear it.
I swear to God. I love my brother, but allow me to unroll this list of fucking symptoms he's suffering right now.
And also all the terrible choices he's made. Now he's brought our house to ruin.
Mm-hmm.
But I really do love him though. The more I view this entire series as just high family drama, the more it works for me. You know, yeah. I have to admit, the more that I just like keep my focus sort of narrow and just on, even though the themes of the show are all about legacy and succession and how what's happening now is going to have great impact in the next couple 100 years. Mm-hmm. The show works for me best when I just view it as, look at this fucking family.
Yeah.
And how fucked this fucking family is.
Yeah. Which is sort of like one of those things that I feel this is what we mean talking about how maybe we could have used more time. Mm-hmm. And there has been arguments about like, well, some people are calling the show boring and they're doing the action thing instead, but that's not making anybody happy either. And I'm like, well, there's a way to balance that though. You know, like Succession is all just people standing around talking to each other and it's gripping. And this could be that if they had wanted to like handle it that way, because they're just dysfunctional. Mm-hmm. They're talking about, and then we kill dad, and that's metaphorical for them, but it's very literal for the Targaryens, and it would still work. Mm-hmm. But I really feel like all of this would hit even harder if I really was like invested in people more. Yeah. So I'm going to read you this bit because this is the book version, and I got things transposed a little bit. So Princess Rhaenyra urged her good father to name instead her, let's see, blah, blah, blah. Lord Corlys also had half a dozen nephews, however, and the eldest of them, Sir Vaemond. So he's in the book.
In the books, he's the nephew. Yeah, that I had heard.
Okay.
I think maybe Austin told us that at one point.
Protested that the inheritance by right should pass to him on the grounds that Rhaenyra's sons were bastards. The princess was not slow in answering this charge. She dispatched Prince Daemon to seize Sir Vaemond, had his head removed, and fed his carcass to her dragon, Syrax.
Well, goddamn.
Yep.
You know what? I also approve of that method.
I find it interesting that they decide in the show not to have her order this to happen. They have Aemond act on her behalf without asking her anything.
Oh, right. They have Daemon, yeah. I think that the show has, and we talked about this, I'm almost positive. The show has done, I think, again, it's not being a reader, but just having heard like some of the differences over the course of the series. This show has seemed like they've softened Rhaenyra a little bit to make her more likable.
Definitely.
And done, I think, some things to make Alicent even less likable.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I mean, it's a choice. I feel like they kind of did a disservice to the audience, though, because, like, so people will throw their allegiance behind a character that they like better.
It's interesting because with Alicent making her even less likable, I'm not even sure that's true. I feel like they tried to make Alicent a little bit more likable by putting her in a position where she was like forced into something that she didn't really want, whereas in the books it's sort of it's not really stated, but she's portrayed in a way that implies she's really ambitious.
So they softened them both up for this show.
I think they did. And it just didn't really work with Alicent because nobody is interpreting it that way. Like, it doesn't seem like most people see her that way. That attempt was unsuccessful, I guess.
Well, they should have just fucking leaned into the ambition of it all and gave us, you know, a woman who was out here making, like I said earlier in one of the episodes where it felt like these things were happening, like people were acting on Alicent's behalf, like Larys, you know, as opposed to acting at her direction, you know. But
that's one of the other things. Like, a lot of people are like, she knew who she was talking to and what he was going to do, and now she's trying to act all like, you know, she didn't know who she was dealing with. I'm like, I don't get that she thought that she knew who she was talking to at all. Why would she know he was going to murder his own fucking family? What do you mean? But yeah, that's a whole other thing.
Exactly. Like you know, again, there's one of the choices they made about the time jumps is that how would we know? You know, like the idea, I guess, that the show was trying to make it seem like she was so surprised by what Larys did. But when you play it that way, what you're telling us is that, you know, for 10 years, Alicent had no idea who the fuck she was dealing with. And that just makes her look like dumb. Yep. Which is not what I want in a character either. Yep. You know, but okay. But so for this episode, yeah, Vaemond is out here basically threatening Rhaenys to her face while she's sitting on the throne.
That man's gall is really something.
You know, she only, this Baelish just like, my grandma seems like she's very comfortable on the chair.
I love
what
that.
Are you talking about?
She presides only in the absence of her husband. On his death, the seat passes. And she says to Viserys, because that is what my husband wanted.
Yep. And it's funny because we know that Rhaenys doesn't really even agree with that. But she's honoring what her husband's wishes are, you know. They keep calling each other good sister and good brother, and every time they say it, I'm like, how do you make that word seem to be the opposite of what it means?
Yeah, that means like in-law, right? I think. And I guess there's a real, just saying so-and-so in-law oftentimes can just be an implication of like, you know. So I feel like they've managed to get that same energy with this.
That's really funny.
So we then cut over to Daemon, who has found a new clutch of dragon eggs in I guess this is just in the dragon pit, or are they on Dragonstone? They're on Dragonstone.
I think they're on Dragonstone.
What is that? Just a random cave? I guess. But yeah, he's pretty stoked about it, and it's gooey. It's gross. I had never thought of it until this actual scene that they just steal these dragon babies. Mm-hmm.
These poor dragons be like, where are my babies? I know I laid some eggs.
I left it right here.
I had never once thought about that. Like, are the dragons ever just like, what about my line? What about my successor?
It's interesting because they're not like laying on the nest. They're not like incubating them, like a hen would do.
Right.
So I do kind of wonder how this goes if they're not there, because they put the eggs in the baby's cradles. Mm-hmm. We've seen them being kept in like braziers of coals and stuff. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But all I can think of is like in Harry Potter when Hagrid has the dragon egg like in the fire that he's tending to, you know. But yeah, it's an interesting question.
And I have another like question too is we see Daemon retrieving the eggs, and I wonder if it is that customary or is that standard? Like, is the rider the one that has to go retrieve them because it's like not safe for anyone else, or do the dragon tenders usually, because they have people who are fully dedicated, like dragon tenders, like that's all they do. So I was curious about the significance of us seeing Daemon go to retrieve them, and like, is that just how this always works?
I don't know anything about that, to be perfectly honest. Because we know like such and such will have produced a clutch of eggs, but that's really as much detail as we get about it.
Mm-hmm. And here we get to watch him like go in and cradle rob.
Basically, yeah.
It's cool to kind of see it though. I mean, I know that the dragons are a big part of the world, but also like not, but getting like this little moment was kind of cool. It was gross, but it was kind of cool.
And this is when we have Rhaenyra come downstairs. She is very clearly pregnant. And she is walking into her son's lessons. He is trying to learn Valyrian. Yeah.
So he is, almost full grown at this point, by their standards. And he is still struggling with this language. And I had asked earlier about whether we were supposed to infer that they are having difficulty because they're not Targaryen, like full blood. And I don't know, like that doesn't make sense to me if that's what's supposed to be happening, because their mother is Targaryen. So I don't know. I'm not sure what this is telling me. Unless maybe it's supposed to be telling me that like how dedicated that he is.
I think so. I think that's it.
But also like if they started learning when they were young children.
Yeah, he's like 15, 16 and he's just starting to learn. Like,
well,
sort of weird to me.
We saw them, I believe, studying when they were a little bit younger. There was a scene. And I asked too about like, why does it seem like they're having so much? Oh, you know what it was? It was when they were at their little dragon training course. And he had...
I know you did not mean for that to sound that way, but that really sounded that way. Oh, your little dragon training course. Precious little babies.
But he had like, somebody had to translate for him.
Okay.
What the guy was saying in Valyrian, but the other ones, Aegon and Aemon, weren't having that same trouble, and they were able to speak it. So I was like, is that supposed to be something, because these kids aren't full blooded, and that's like why they are struggling? So I don't know. And then to have another scene with the same sort of thing where we're watching the same kid have the same fucking trouble, and that he has to really work hard at it, and that it's not coming naturally to him. I was just curious.
I guess so. Yeah. Didn't really occur to me, but that might be what they're doing. I can't, I'm sorry. I'm so distracted by his like mullet hair. I don't know what's going on, but he has this like, it looks like he's got one wig on top of another wig is kind of the vibe I'm getting on it. But yeah. And then there's like a history lesson mixed in with this, where he is learning about, part of me is like, it feels like cheating if you know already what it is that they're talking about. You can just sort of infer.
Right.
But who am I to say? I didn't invent Duolingo or anything.
Yeah. And I guess we're also supposed to, understand that he knows that he's not legitimate. And he is desperate to like prove something, so that's why mastering this is so important to him. Yeah.
So this is when Daemon comes in and he has the message about the fact that Vaemond is going to press his claim, and that they basically have got to go down to King's Landing and do a whole fucking
whole fucking thing.
And when they get there, the queen does not greet them. And it's just obviously
it is
meant to be an insult, which later she's just like, I was just so busy. I'm like,
this is fucking Otto is like, and I hope that they were greeted, according to their station. There's a conversation between Daemon and Rhaenyra before they leave, because Daemon is basically like, the queen is terrible, but she's not cruel. Like, I don't think she would actually do this, and Rhaenyra is just like, have you not been paying attention?
She's also, when they go into like the main hall, a lot of the Targaryen stuff has been replaced with the general sept imagery. When
they walk in and she has a line about like not even being able to recognize it, but the whole place looks completely different. All of the shit that was hanging on the walls, those tapestries and all that, that's just down.
Yeah. Yep.
And then it's got that 7-pointed star everywhere. And then when we actually see, I keep wanting to call her Marjorie, but when we actually see Alicent for the first time in this episode, she has gone like full on born again, evangelical fucking, I've been washed in the blood.
Yeah, she's got the like star around her neck that she's wearing very prominently.
Yep.
Which I guess is what you have to do when your family is just a fucking disaster and you need something to hang on to.
That, and also like it, I guess we had to time jump, so we didn't get to see it. But I think also there is some kind of penance, like her behavior last time we saw her was so beneath what she expects of herself that she has just kind of like thrown herself into this religion.
She's overcorrecting.
Kind of, yeah, right? Which is a thing people do.
Oh, yeah.
It's a fucking thing that we really probably should like look at more closely. But so yeah, she has 100% overcorrected and has just thrown herself into this righteousness of this religion because she couldn't stand on her own self-righteousness anymore, because she had fallen off of that fucking high horse so spectacularly in front of everybody that it's like she needed reinforcement. And yeah, her children are
We'll get there in a second.
We sure will.
So first we have the like meeting in the small council room.
Small council meeting.
And we got what's his face, and he's like giving this whole thing. Eventually they talk about Aemon's wanting to press his claim, and this fucking Lannister dude is still here.
Oh my god, that's girl. I could not place him when I watched this episode twice, and I was like, his face is so familiar.
You didn't realize that's who he was?
I didn't.
Oh shit. Okay.
It's very, very weird. Like, I don't know why I didn't. Maybe because I just disliked him so much. I don't know. But yeah, no, I didn't. I knew he was somebody, but I really honestly was just like, wait, who is this? And my subtitles are doing the thing for some reason. It doesn't tell me the character's name who's speaking.
It doesn't tend to do that unless they are off screen when they begin speaking. But yeah, he's talking about how like, well, you know, the kid that's supposed to inherit didn't even live at Driftmark, and he doesn't know anything about commanding fleets. And the Maester is like, that's not really how that works, though. Right? It doesn't go to who knows how to do it. It goes to your birth. That's it.
When has that ever been a thing?
And I'm sorry, your alarm going off in the background. The crown must choose what's best for the realm, and I'm like, must it? Or
when the guy is like, the air, it goes to the air. What grounds could there be? And he looks at him. One guy is like, yes. What grounds could there be?
What indeed? What indeed? And I was just like, well then. So at this point, Allison is like, hey guys, gotta go say hi to our guests. Sorry about that. I love when she gets one of her like
Eric or whatever. Okay, so who are these guys?
I don't know.
Are they new?
No,
new,
I mean,
right?
I think they're new. They're definitely in the book. I don't really remember.
They're new to me, right?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't you worry about that.
Okay.
But I do kind of enjoy it. Felt like the show sort of lampshading everybody's names being the same and just being like, yeah, guys, we know we're doing the best we can. Give us a break over here. And that's maybe just me just putting my own thing on it. But why don't we just take the spot and take a little break? We will be right back. And we're back. We took a couple of hours off. Went and made some dinner, rewatched the episode 2 more times, and now we are going to continue. So he is telling her it's about the prince. There's been a delicate situation.
Okay, well, I don't know like exactly how terrible Aegon is in the books. He's pretty fucking terrible here on the show, though.
He is indeed.
And when they said that, my heart sank, and I was like, is it,
Did you have any idea what it was about?
I thought it was going to be, I didn't know it was going to be what it turned out to be, which is apparently just straight up rape.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was, I thought it was going to be something sexual and it did, and drunken related, but I thought it was just going to be more like him acting inappropriate for his station and the fact that he's married,
Gotcha.
Maybe he was drunk and there were like 6 whores in his room. like some Tyrion level shit, not like a fucking rapist that's running around fucking, King's Landing in the Keep having
debauchery, but not crime.
Exactly. That's what I thought we were getting. But it turns out that this kid has grown up and turned into something much worse than I expected. Mm-hmm. I knew we had gotten these insights and these clues into what he was going to be from previous episodes, but I didn't know we were jumping to this.
Yeah.
And then the scene with the way that Allison handles this, any leg to stand on that she has ever had in her entire life crumpled underneath her in this moment. Mm-hmm. She can't say shit about shit, if you ask me. Ever again.
At this point, This is what I find really fascinating is like how Allison has been so infuriated with Viserys for not admitting the truth about his daughter. And then she is put in the position where she could do that with her son and she just won't. And now she has to see that position he had been in a totally different light now. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure it's still different for her because Rhaenyra is going to be queen and this kid isn't technically supposed to be king. But she still has her idea and there's still just the fucking face of the family. Yeah. So I am certain that if you asked her to pit these two things against one another, she would say Rhaenyra is like the worst of the two, which is ridiculous. But this is something that I kind of like because, so full disclosure, my mom cheated on my dad for quite a long time. And I was extremely judgy about that. And I still maintain most of that. But then I cheated on my husband, kind of, basically. And I really had to take a step back once I sort of admitted to myself that was what was happening. And be like, all right, I mean, I had all the room to be judgy. And maybe a lot of what I thought was is still true. But looks a lot different on this side of things, doesn't it? You know,
right.
Like it's just, there are things that, sure, there is an objective right and an objective wrong, but that's very easy to say outside of it. And sometimes you don't really get why a person even thinks there's a gray area until they're in it and their emotions are tied up in things. And then all of a sudden there's all of this, well, you know, there's a subtlety to, no, is there?
Yeah.
No, he raped a woman.
Yep. And that's what to me, I think is going to be like the most fascinating thing to watch going forward with the way this episode ends, is that Alicent does her duty in the sense that she covers up the crime of her son, pays off and silences the victim after some like really egregious manipulation. And like, it's like fucking hard to watch that scene that, you know, that Alicent is doing. And then confronts her son with her disgust, tells him to his face that you are no son of mine, which is sort of being like, that's it. I don't have any respect for you. I don't even know who you are and what you are. To, at the end of the episode, being like reaffirming the fact that she is going to support a claim for king for this boy who she just told a day ago or hours ago, you are no son of mine, you know, like how quickly she shifts back. Yeah. You know, and I guess in her mind she's going to be able to rationalize it because of course these are like her, you know, her husband's dying wish. So now she's obligated to fulfill this wild misinterpretation that she just made. And she will then make excuses to herself for supporting her fucking deviant son because she can always just go, well, it's what Viserys wanted and I'm doing it for Viserys, you know. But yeah, so they get to his fucking chambers and this guy, this Aegon, this kid, this man, this terrible human.
Yeah.
Is
they make her, by the way, they make the maid drink moon tea.
Oh my god, that shit is just like a big fucking. They have one of, you know, those things they have at McDonald's, the big soda fountain machines. They just
got like one of those gravity dispensers, like at a fucking football game on the sidelines. They dump it over her head. Yeah, this is definitely some shit that they have made in bulk. And put some money in her hand for your troubles.
And the fact that this all goes this way, so seamless and without a lot of shock and horror, tells us, but this happens all the fucking time.
Oh yeah, it definitely does.
Right?
Yeah, what I thought was like interesting was, I am pretty sure they wouldn't have had to cover this up if it were real life. Like, he could do what he wanted. Let's be perfectly honest. If he were raping the maids, that would just be what he was allowed to do.
Yeah. That's a really good point too, is that because Alicent is who she is, that's why this is not okay. You know, if she were any other person, or not any other person, but if she were a different type of person, a different character, you know what? If she were in the show the way so many people watching the show seem to see her, if she were really that thing that people say she is, then she wouldn't be covering all this up.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, and you can see, this is not pardoning her at all. You can see she makes herself sick. She hates doing this. The whole scene, I feel like Alicent is disgusted with handing her this money, bringing forward the tea. She is like going through her speech about, well, people might think, and it feels to me like she can barely get the words out because she is just grossed out. She's doing it anyway. But I definitely get the sense that this is hard for her because she knows how fucked up it is. And she just resents being put in the position where she's got to play the middleman to his behavior. And just overall, there's a deep sense of shame in her in this scene.
Well, good.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm just saying, like, I feel like there are, again, going to be people who are just like, oh, she doesn't even care. She's just going to like get rid of it. And it's like, she does care. She clearly cares. She goes up and like rips him a new one because she's disgusted. But like you said, it doesn't last long. Like it just, yep. This is one of those things where it's like people just feeling, well, because I feel guilty about doing the thing means that I'm not that bad a person. Well, the guilt isn't really the part. It's the doing that's the part.
Yeah, like this is it feels to me in the scene that this is hard for Alicent, but it's not hard for her for any of the right reasons, if that makes any sense. It's hard for her because her son turning into whatever the fuck this is sort of an indictment of her as a parent. It is wildly embarrassing to her and like mortifying to Alicent because of their station, because of the vows that Alicent, claims to adhere to that are so important to her, these values of this religion, and that Alicent has set herself up again as this great martyr. She has this ailing, aging, dying husband that she takes care of. She has these children that like aren't great, she's long suffering and all of these things, and then she has this son out here that is just like making a mockery of all of her values. Once again, here's someone in her life, like first it was Rhaenyra, just giving the finger to everything, and now she's got a son that does the same fucking thing.
That's interesting. That is not how I saw it, but I can understand your interpretation, and I think that makes sense. But I really got a sense in the scene that she knew why what she was doing was so wrong. Like it wasn't the principle. I feel like just as a woman, she's like, this is disgusting. But here she goes anyway.
Yeah, here she goes anyway. That could also be a tagline for the whole fucking world here, right?
Honestly.
This whole world. It's like, I know that this is a terrible idea, but here I go anyway.
And this fucking dude just being like, it was just a bit of harmless fun. And the idea that somebody could do this and then say it's harmless. Like, genuinely, holy shit, you're a psychopath.
And then fucking Helena walking in, asking for Diana, the victim here, because we find she's like, Helena's like, she's supposed to dress the kids. So
right.
This is, we knew it was a servant girl. She says she was bringing him wine or whatever when the assault happened. But this is also a girl, a servant who is one of their household, like intimately knows, takes care of their children, Ugh, gross.
Yep. And so then we kind of had jumped past the scene where Rhaenyra and Daemon go in to see her father. But this is the first time they're seeing him. No, it's before
you're right.
The whole thing.
Yep.
And he looks like a corpse already. It is really bad.
I read they had like a body double for some of the scenes, which makes sense when you think about it. And that when he was in full makeup on the set, they had him like shielded by umbrellas all the time, so like no images would leak. And I think I might be misremembering, but I think even some of the cast hadn't seen him in the full makeup until like he showed up on set, and so everybody's reactions to it were just yeah, guys, they go into this room. And it's so sad. His whole, people are calling it like his Legoland. His whole model is just covered in dirt and cobwebs and dust. And
where is his cleaning staff?
Listen, I am curious.
Paying people to take care of this stuff. Like,
I'm curious, like if there is some kind of no one is allowed to touch this. Because I don't understand why no one has been cleaning up this room. It can't be good for him.
I wouldn't think so. Place just being filthy all over.
Yeah, and then I was like, well, maybe there's only a few people that are ever able to go into the room, because my thought was, well, maybe they're hiding him, because I wasn't really sure. Like it's been a 6-year time jump, but I'm not sure how long it's been since Viserys was public, since he was like sitting on the throne, how long he's been this sick. The state of the room suggests that it's been a little bit of time now. But my thought was, well, maybe just only a handful of people are allowed to see him. But then we have a scene where he's being tended to by a room full of people.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So one of y'all could have grabbed a dust mop.
So yeah, he just looks like hell here. And his like nails are all dark in a way that's just very unhealthy looking, and his face is falling apart. We see later how like completely that's happening. Yeah. I can't get over the fact that he just literally is already dead. And Daemon is standing here fresh as a daisy, looking exactly the same as he did at the start of the series. Like, they did not even try to age Daemon at all. And that's fine. I really don't actually care, but it is funny. Like, you do have to step back and be like, ooh, damn. Aged like milk takes on a whole new meaning with this man.
It is really something to see Viserys in this condition that he's been. And also the illness that they have given and the way they portrayed it on the show is very much like something has been eating him alive. Like his particular deterioration isn't just, like wasting away, but like literally being eaten.
Yeah.
And it is very effective.
Yeah, this actually, I want to mention the post that I made yesterday on the various platforms. I think I posted it in more than one spot. But the actor Paddy Considine posted about his intentions with this character. He says, I want to give massive love and respect to @Brooke Cyan, who came in for only a few days, but changed the course of my character with her brilliant performance and commitment to the work. And it's the woman who played Emma. The impact stayed with me until my final improvised words. She unlocked the missing piece of the puzzle for me and allowed my story to come full circle. From the moment she dies, so does Viserys. It was a love story. That's the secret I carried with me. As sick as he gets, he never himself demands any cure. He quietly accepts his suffering, never forgiving himself for putting his beloved wife through such torture in her final moments. And this is, hotly contested in the comments, but you and I are both pretty much, I didn't get that from what he was doing.
Yeah, I didn't. I'm not going to sit on this mic and lie and be like, I 100% got that right away throughout the whole series. It just didn't, that did not come through to me. I really appreciate, and I said this on the post, the actor sharing his motivation, and it really does flesh out a lot of what we saw from Viserys on screen that makes sense in hindsight. But I never got the show. It never really felt to me like that was part of the narrative. And the fact that Paddy is saying himself that was like an internal motivation for him. I don't think that, I don't think the show was really doing that.
I agree. And the whole like concept of him just being driven by it the whole time. Did I sense his guilt early on? Yeah. Like he has that conversation with Rhaenyra where essentially he says like what he has been doing to back her up has been to honor her mother, but it's not ever repeated again. It's not ever brought up. And I need there to be some revisiting of that, or else it just feels like, well, sure, in the immediate aftermath where she's only died like a couple years earlier, then sure. But we have a 15-year time jump, and I don't see anything from him that would indicate to me that's still on his mind. Sure, he is continuing to back up Rhaenyra. That's not connected to me anymore, to his feelings of guilt and the concept that he's letting himself suffer despite really being in pain. I like that idea a lot. I actually think that makes him more likable. But I wasn't there's honestly no moment where he's getting treatment where he is really expressing that he is in pain almost at all to begin with. and then just choosing to suffer through it instead. He just kind of is getting like worked on by people, and he's not having much of a reaction in those moments. Like
I will say that, like, in all those moments where he's being tended to, I thought to myself more than once, being like, he's just laying there, like, they're not doing anything. But I didn't think that meant that there wasn't any pain. It just felt like I had kind of made an assumption that he was just going to be kind of like white knuckling it, and just kind of getting through it.
But that's kind of my point. Like, if there isn't any indicator that he's clamping down on pain and getting through it, and like, being offered something to get rid of the pain and just saying no, then I don't know that's what he's actually doing. Yeah. For all I know, he was administered pain meds before they started. And because we come in like while shit's getting done to him half the time. They've already gotten started. So, and like, I do buy that he would, if we were going according to like how it would be written in the book, if it went into more detail, him keeping this motivation to himself and not expressing it. But it's a television show, and there's a whole lot of shit that people express that I don't think they actually would out loud because they have to for the show.
Right.
So him having at least a brief conversation, or at least like, I don't know, anything to sort of bring it up again would have helped.
Yeah. And that's the one place where me and you were a little bit different in our opinions, because I said, and I agree. I just don't think I would not have responded well to a scene in this show where it becomes made clear that Viserys is punishing himself out of guilt for what happened to him. That would not have worked for me.
Right.
I'd have been deeply annoyed by it and probably called bullshit on it. So for me,
explain why.
Because I didn't like the way he was centered in her actual murder, and I'll be damned if I have to watch 10 episodes of him, beating himself to death about his guilt. I just would not have been here for that. It's not. It shouldn't have been about you in the moment you did it, and I have no interest in you making it about you for the next 15 fucking years either.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Although apparently that's what he did. But.
So I'm really glad that there was not ever a moment where I had to see him. In my comment, I think I said the most I would allow is if it had occurred in one of those last death scenes with him and Rhaenyra, right before he dies, where he says something to Rhaenyra that sort of acknowledges this pain that they've both been carrying all these years and how it has motivated sort of both of them, I think. Like when we're jumping ahead again, but like when they have the death scene and she's talking about, well, he didn't die yet, but when she's telling Viserys that the burden feels like it's too heavy and that she's not even sure if she wants it anymore and all that. Like, I wonder if there is if in that moment, if there had been something along the lines of, I keep carrying the burden, or I haven't turned it down, or I haven't told, didn't say I don't want it out loud because I'm also carrying, some guilt from the way mom died and feel like she sacrificed her life to give you an heir and died because she couldn't. And then I get it, and how like I can't dishonor her memory by just being like, yeah, no, I don't want it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we didn't really get that either. So, but
I interpreted the, decay of his body as just the responsibilities of being king tearing him apart, because his house is like falling apart around him, and he doesn't like this job. Let's be honest, Viserys should have been born a regular dude with a regular family, and he would have been a lot happier.
They could have just made Rhaenys queen and saved everybody all this trouble.
Honestly. Like, can you imagine how much better she would be at all of this?
I mean, I guess some people would be like, well, there just would have been the same war. It just would have happened earlier when Rhaenys was crowned. The same war that's about to happen over Rhaenyra. But I don't know, you guys. I feel like maybe the Targaryens were a little bit stronger 30 years prior when, he was named king, when Viserys was named king.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they would have been able to withstand the divide in the realm and the outrage people would have felt at her Rhaenys being named queen. Maybe they would have been better positioned to withstand the descent, a generation earlier, when there were more of them and more dragons and they were stronger and we didn't have all of this.
Sorry.
But maybe it would have gone better if Rhaenys had been named. But we'll never know, will we?
Or if at least he had decided to marry Laena.
Oh my God.
If we had just gotten that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this, moving on from, the whole moment here, we have Rhaenys getting greeted first by her granddaughter, and then Rhaenyra following up right after.
No, you're fine. It's just in the scene where they go to see Viserys for the first time. We talked about how Viserys looked, but we didn't actually talk about like what happened with them in the scene.
Oh, okay.
We basically they're pleading to Viserys, we need your help.
Mm-hmm.
You have to come and stand for us because they are challenging the succession and we're going to need you here. And Viserys is not in any shape and they haven't seen him in 6 years. And they also have grandchildren to introduce to him.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
New grandchildren, new shiny Targaryen grandchildren.
Yeah, and you were like, they can't have kids together, right? And I was like,
I was mistaken. Apparently they decided that it would be a good idea, and I didn't hear anyone make any references in this whole episode to how different the kids they have now look compared to the kids they had before. And I kept thinking that was definitely going to come up, but yeah, no one actually said anything.
Yeah, so I guess they think that it's so self-evident to begin with that pointing out how different the other kids look is not going to help.
Listen, I am blown away that they had more children. I just, I don't know. It's not a big deal, I guess. Nobody else really seems to care, but I am still just like, wow. It was just like, I dare any of y'all to say shit about it.
All right. So Rhaenys, I just love this. Rhaenyra tries to soften her up by doing this. And then proposes marrying her children to Rhaenys's grandchildren. And Rhaenys here is just like, bitch, get the fuck up on my face. She has no interest and no patience. And is like, you can bargain if you feel like it. I see what you're doing here. But tomorrow, the High Towers land their first blow. They force you to your knees, and I must stand alone. But then when Viserys shows up, this bitch knows which way the wind is blowing. And she is not interested in just standing up for a certain thing on principle. She is like, no. They have him, like, we know how he feels about this. And if that's how we're doing it, I will adjust my stance and expectations to match, which is the way to do it. This is the way to play the game, like.
That's one of the things I like about Rhaenys so much is that she really does seem like she understands how this all works.
Mm-hmm.
Like
exactly.
There's not very many people in this series so far that I feel like would have, like, I sometimes think like, oh, what would Alicent have been like in Game of Thrones? Like, how well would she have fared?
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Rhaenys would have been all right.
Rhaenys is the one that should be ruling. Because, I mean, obviously Aegon is a fucking monster. I don't think Rhaenyra is particularly suited. She's like, she's fine. She's like average, She is not somebody that I trust to have the insight and bright ideas and to see through people and whatnot. That's Rhaenys. And I just wish so much that she could just We could
just
sweep
be
all
queen.
of these people aside and just put her on the throne and fucking be done with it. Can we just all admit, we all know it. We all know it.
I do want to ask a question going back to the scene in the bedroom with Viserys. What's going on with the tea? Daemon takes Viserys takes a drink of his tea, and Daemon takes the little goblet and smells it, and then makes a weird face, and it looks like he's about to ask Rhaenyra to smell it as well. I'm not supposed to think that he's being poisoned or anything.
Later on, Daemon says something to Alicent about how you're keeping him pliable and like out of the picture. So I think he thinks they're giving him milk of the poppy to addle him further and make it so that he isn't involved with the daily running of things.
Oh,
I think that it's like, yeah, he's sick, but if you weren't drugging him, he would still be coherent and able to like, you know what I mean?
All right. I think I was just taking a bet because he seemed surprised that there was, something in the cup. And I was like, Viserys calls it his tea, but I'm like, yeah, that's definitely fucking milk of the poppy.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Daemon was surprised a little bit, I was like, wait, because it seems to me, of course it would be. Of course a guy in that condition would have a fucking bottle of pills on a nightstand.
Right, yeah.
And so I didn't get why Daemon seemed surprised. But okay, gotcha.
So, yeah, we have him getting wounds cleaned out yet again while Otto comes to advise him. And I love when he's like, I want supper. And Otto's like, it's the morning, Your Grace. And he's like, I know. No, I mean with everybody. God, I fucking know what day it is and what time it is. Jesus. There was just something about this moment that I found really funny. But he says, yeah, I want us all to dine together. And I was like, oh, baby. That's all he ever wanted was just to have a really nice Christmas with everybody together.
Yeah,
all of us opening presents. Don't bring up old shit.
Did we miss the scene where Rhaenyra and Alicent see each other and actually greet each other for the first time during this visit?
I'm sort of like cycling through these pretty quick, and it must be a much shorter scene than I thought because I don't see it.
It happens right after she leaves from yelling at Aegon.
Oh, okay.
She leaves him and then goes and sees.
Oh, right, because then we get the scene with the boys watching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Vaemond in the yard with his fucking looking like a Final Fantasy character. Yeah, okay, so we can do that. I'm trying to like keep things under control because we are an hour into this and we haven't even reached the halfway point of the episode, so we need to pick it up.
All right.
But the two of, obviously the whole like, oh, I'm not even going to meet with them. They have to mention it, and Daemon isn't even like pretending the way that Rhaenyra is. She's at least doing the, of course, Your Grace. Mm-hmm. But Daemon is the one chiming in with, didn't even greet us.
Right.
And she says, I'm sure the queen had pressing business, my love.
Daemon is like, the house looks real different. Mm-hmm. And calls her out on all this shit. Like, you took down all the Targaryen shit. Like, all the shit that's important to us, that's historic for us, and put up this new shit. What's that about? And they asked Alicent, like, which authority, because Alicent's like, oh, we just lean on the faith's authority and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, which authority is going to be sitting tomorrow on the throne? Mm-hmm. And Alicent is like, well, I will be. Just straight up.
When she's like, we're just stewards of the king's will and wisdom. And how is that expressed? Blinks and wheezes? And I was like, God damn.
He really just be saying this shit, don't he?
He's just constantly got this vibe of like, you came into my house. And like, no, we're not in your house. But he has a vibe of, you came into my house. And I really wish that I carried that same sort of energy myself.
Yeah, same. All right, so then we have the kids down in the yard. We're watching what a complete maniac Aemon has grown into. Fucking Kristen Cole is still around, not aged a goddamn day for reasons. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what, Aemon looks really, really menacing.
Yeah.
In this episode, like I feel like he's dangerous. Somebody needs to put him down really soon because he's going to just be a problem. He's going to be a real problem. And the sooner he's dealt with, the better.
Yeah, these two boys like looking at the weapons and stuff, and then they go over here, and I'm like, oh yeah, you are boys.
Yeah,
like,
right.
This is a different type over here.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't think that they're supposed to be that different in age even. But it is jarring how different they seem. Like, he looks like a grown-ass man, and they really do still look like little boys. And this eye patch.
Yeah. And I will say, the fucking choreography on this fight is really good. Fighting against a mace, like a flail, I guess it is, not a mace. It is so scary to me. Like, it just seems like the kind of thing you're going to injure yourself as likely as injure the other person if you just, like, you know.
I don't see any reason why you would use that as a weapon of choice. Same. I feel the same way about nunchucks. But, you know, whatever. Live your best life. If you want to fight with something that can literally take your own eye out, I guess that's a choice you can make.
You only got one left, sir.
Right. And then the Valerians make an entrance when this is all happening. They come strolling through the gates with all the fucking banners out. And I know that this is like something we see all the time, but every time I see the procession of any kind of the noble house, and then you have the like really two poor schmucks whose job it is to literally run behind the carriage with the banner.
There are so many jobs in this universe that are so undignified. Just fucking demeaning.
I would rather not have a job if that was the only option. No, I'm not running. Can I have a horse? Why can't I have a horse?
A horse? Who do you think you are, madam?
So,
and I love the kid who's playing Vaemond is doing this thing with his mouth. I don't know what's happening, but it's got a very Blue Steel sort of thing going on for me that I cannot like help but giggle at a little bit. He seems so threatening when he's fighting, and then when the camera zooms in on him and Kristen says something like, oh, you'll be winning tourneys in no time.
I don't give a shit about tourneys.
He says it, he's got this like lip thing happening when he says it, and then he looks over and says nephews, and his eye is like wide and staring, like you can see the white of his eye all the way around his iris in a way that I'm just like, oh my god, look, another serial killer. Allison, what is happening with your children?
Did you know about that whole thing, what they say about you can see the whole whites around your eyes?
Isn't it some like, oh, then they are a lunatic kind of shit? Yeah. I feel like I remember my mom telling me that when we were watching some like show about like unsolved mysteries or something like that.
Yeah, it's got a name. I forget what it's called, but it's got like it's a name for that deal. It's like,
it sounds like a little too close to phrenology for my taste, but I guess
fair enough, because I really don't know what that science is based on.
Let me come and feel the shape of your head to tell you whether or not you're a psycho. So yeah, this is when Vaemond gets escorted in with a little bit of pomp and circumstance. We then go to Rhaenyra and Rhaenys. We have the moment with Rhaenyra alone with her dad begging for his help, and he's just fucking not even like conscious. And then we go to the actual petition, and I thought it was going to be Alicent on the throne. It's her father, actually, which makes more sense. But she says that will be me in answer to their question about who's like going to be deciding things tomorrow.
Yeah, to be fair, she says her and her father. I think
does she? Okay.
Yeah, she includes her dad too. I was just being kind of flippant with my remark, but yeah, he's sitting because technically this is how that works, right? We knew that from when Robert was out and Ned was on the fucking throne, and it wasn't Cersei ever sitting on the throne until one of the kids. Right. Because they were a minor, she was like regent and she was able to like occupy that space for a little while. But yeah, so it's I don't want a throne. I can't get over every time I see this throne too in this universe and this with that fucking how they extend all the halfway out into the hall.
Yeah, it's way cooler.
And it does not look good for the blacks. And I say that both knowing how how accurate that is in general and how specific it is to the show.
So it starts off with like Vaemond doing his thing, Rhaenyra interrupting and basically being like, yeah, my sons are his offspring. And this is what I kept sort of thinking, like, in order for you to get your way, Otto has to admit he believes those children are not trueborn, which that changes everything. And like, would he be willing to take that risk? I don't, we don't see what he would choose because Viserys interrupts.
Mm-hmm.
But what Vaemond is asking him to do and risk is quite a lot. And he seems to just be like, well, but it's true. And I'm like, yeah, that's not the point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're in the midst of this.
I love the interruption for Viserys because we had seen in the previous scene where he's getting tended to that he asked Otto to arrange dinner or supper, to be more accurate, with all his family while they're in King's Landing together. And so we are alerted that he's not taking his normal sort of dose of medication for the day.
Right.
But then even, I guess it never occurs to Otto that this is a possibility that Viserys is going to interrupt this proceedings.
Mm-hmm.
He's so sure, and I guess he has every reason to be because they've been doing this for a while now, and Viserys hasn't ventured into the throne room for anything. But him and Alicent are so comfortable in their position that they are completely blindsided by Viserys' arrival, which I love that little detail, being like, Otto, you knew he wasn't on the meds though, but
yeah. And I love this moment too. When Alicent cuts into Rhaenyra and is like, let Vaemond finish. Vaemond turns to her with this grin on his face. And I was like, you look like that dragon. He had that like, oh boy, I'm so excited. He's like, what do you know of Valyrian blood? I could cut my veins open and you still wouldn't recognize
fucking
it.
Otto.
Just saying it.
Otto is on the throne, meanwhile, and he's nodding his head to everything that fucking Vaemond is saying. He's like that, he's spitting. Like, oh my
Vaemond
God.
got bars.
And when Vaemond, when he finally like loses his shit after Viserys shows up and like just comes out and says it, there's also another shot of Otto literally like moving forward, like, oh, word. His face, Otto's face throughout this whole throne room scene is actually really, really funny. I don't think it's supposed to be, but it is. So there's a couple of good reaction gifs built into this moment.
Vaemond finishes. It's time for Princess Rhaenyra. She begins to step forward, and then the doors open behind her, and here he comes. We get about 10 minutes of him walking to the throne. Nobody will help him, which I'm sure is his choice, but feels really rude.
Yeah, somebody tries to help him and he shoos them away, his guards.
And I was just like, can you get the man like a walker or a wheelchair or something, please? But we just have to stand and let him struggle. And it is a struggle. And he finally like gets to the steps of the throne and has a really hard time getting up them. And his crown falls off, which I've read was not part of the scene. This was...
Yeah, I read this was improvised as well.
Yeah, it just like, it was an accident in the scene and they just decided to keep it because it just suited way too well.
Yeah. This mask that Viserys is wearing, that's not the fucking crab feeder mask, is it?
Oh, no.
That's a different thing that he's got made, right?
Totally different.
I thought so, but I meant to look up pictures of it because the only thing it had in common was just kind of being shiny and gold. And I was like, that can't be it. But I couldn't remember if Daemon had presented it to, I know Daemon presented something. Oh, it was his crown that he gave Viserys. Okay, that's what it was.
So, Daemon comes and he picks it up. Viserys is mid-sentence. I said I didn't need, and then he turns and he sees that it's his brother.
Oh, you guys.
And Daemon helps him up the steps to his throne in a moment of unity that's just all anything Viserys wanted. And I'm just like, yeah, and all it took was the slow decay of your body over the course of a decade for this to finally happen.
When he plopped down into that seat, you guys, I flinched. I physically flinched.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, every time he sits in that throne, he fucking draws blood.
And I couldn't, you're about to mince yourself,
right?
Sir.
And then Austin pointed out, he says he thinks this is the only time that we see him in the throne where he doesn't hurt himself.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah, this is the only time the throne isn't like, you don't get to sit here. And Austin theorized that it's because this is like the most king shit we've seen Viserys do.
Which is interesting because in the book, I'm just gonna read this. As he was descending, his grace stumbled and reached out to right himself and sliced his left hand open to the bone on a jagged blade protruding from the throne. Though Grand Maester Melos washed the cut out with boiled wine and bound up the hand with strips of linen soaked in healing ointments, fever soon followed. So
in the book, he does hurt himself this last time.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
wow.
This is the injury that really seems to lead to his death.
Interesting.
It's like he doesn't die from it, but it is like the first of the really bad ones that he sustains.
Oh, so he hasn't been getting like all these terrible injuries throughout the story in the book?
No, he's just getting fat and red-faced and just ruining his health through overeating and overindulging.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very, very different.
Yep.
Huh. Interesting.
Which I'm fine with them deciding to do this instead of it just being like a sort of like vaguely fat phobic thing that they could have done. Which, you know, not to say that people can't ruin their health with overindulgence. It's certainly a real thing. But it's really tough to pull that off on the screen in a way that's not like full of its own problems.
Yeah, I think I have to say, I think I prefer what they chose to do on the show in that one particular instance, at least.
Yeah.
So Viserys shows up and is really just like, I can't believe y'all made me climb out of my bed. Y'all know I'm dying to come and talk about some shit that is already settled.
Yep.
Why are we here? Why is everyone here today?
I love it. I love this. So then we get Vaemond. And he is just like, oh, well, first we get Rhaenys. My bad. Oh, my God.
Yeah, because Viserys is like the only person that's standing here that needs to fucking be here, really, that has any real insight is Rhaenys. So she gets to speak. and it's everything.
It's just so, I love her so much. It was ever my husband's will that Driftmark pass through Sir Laenor to his true-born son, Lucerys Valerian. And she says this, and you can see Vaemond's head like beginning to crack in steam. It hasn't exploded yet.
His face when she's called and she has to walk past him to step forward to speak. He could just float away. He's so mad. Like
and that the Princess Rhaenyra has offered her children to marry my granddaughters, and this is a proposal which I gladly accept.
Yeah, there's great close-ups of how each person in the Greens react to this news. Everybody's like face. Otto again, fantastic reaction face.
A proposal to which I heartily agree. You see her granddaughter behind her looking over at like Jason Luke and just being like, what's up?
And then they hold hands.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that they hold hands. Bless them. They immediately are just like, all right, yeah, this is fine. So then we get Vaemond. And he just does his unwise thing.
Yeah, it's a choice. It's not a great choice, but it's a choice that he made where he just decided he's just going to say all the things for once. And the thing is, like, I guess, because this is a wild decision. This is like, makes no sense, right? This is the dumb thing for him to do.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess it is just desperation and rage.
Mm-hmm.
And he realizes that I have been outplayed in this moment, and I can't win in this moment. So he just decides to throw it all away, which kind of sucks because at least we know as readers and watchers, the story isn't ended here. And the decision that Viserys just laid down, like they're still going to war. So he still could have fought, you know, and eventually got what he wanted.
I see what you mean, yeah.
But nope.
But nope, indeed.
He just takes this as like the final word on it and just kills himself, really, is what he does here.
I still can't get over, you can run your house, but you can't decide the future of mine. And I'm just like, what do you think he does?
I
sir?
mean, it is just a gross misunderstanding of his position and this moment that he's in and where he is. It's wild. And he does it, y'all. He says it. Daemon says, say it. And he fucking says it.
This is really something. I feel so bad for Rhaenyra's kids because they just have to be constantly on the defense and like they know and they have to keep up this facade even though they are aware this isn't true or fair. Just the position that she has put them in sucks, and I hate this for them.
The younger one, Luke, really seems to be struggling too. You know, from previous episodes, this episode when they go down into the yard and he's just like, everybody is fucking staring at us. And, you know, they wouldn't be if we didn't fucking look exactly like Harwin fucking Strong. Yep. And then the older one is just like, doesn't matter what they think. So the older kid is trying to do what he sees his mom doing, which is this whole, like, they can think what they want and say what they want. It doesn't matter, you know, because who's going to check us? That energy. But the younger kid seems like he is having a hard time with that.
Yeah. I think it's a lot easier for the elder son to feel like nobody's going to do shit to me than the younger son. But he's the
one about to be king, though. Well, not about to be, but in line.
That's kind of what I mean, though.
Right, yeah.
You know,
agreed.
he's already in line, and this younger kid isn't going to have that particular kind of protection. And so it will matter a little bit more for him.
Yeah. And also for Jace is the one, not Jace, I'm sorry, Luke. He is the one that's being accused in this, or challenged is a better word. You know, they're not challenging, like they're backing in to challenging Rhaenyra and Jace, but really on paper, who they're challenging is Viserys in this moment. So of course he feels the most vulnerable.
Yeah,
you know? Like nobody is. They're saying I don't deserve to inherit Driftmark. They're not even talking about y'all. They're talking about me specifically.
Yeah. Yeah, so he doesn't even stop with these kids are bastards. He then has to call Rhaenyra a whore.
Yeah, girl.
Which I'm like, you didn't even have to do that extra bit, but
he was
guess
like,
you're just gonna do it.
Like, if I'm gonna die, I guess I'm just gonna say everything. He decided for no good reason because he didn't have to say any of this. He could have taken the judgment, went home and licked his wounds and lived to fight another day, like the rest of the fucking Greens are about to do.
But nope, he does his thing, says his bit, and Viserys starts to get up out of the throne and is like, I will have your tongue for this. And the camera turns back to Vaemond, and all of a sudden, Vaemond's only partially still there.
The way the camera looks up as Daemon is saying, don't worry about his tongue or whatever.
I swear, from his eyes, like the man is looking at him like, I cannot believe he just did that to me.
This is so disrespectful.
I love the fact that Viserys was about to cut his tongue out, though, because he genuinely was. Like,
he really was, like, stood up. This is the fastest we saw him move this whole episode. It's how fast he stood up and pulled that knife out of his holster or whatever. Yeah. And you know what? There was another conversation about that whole, Viserys punishing himself for all these years. A friend shared that a lot of Viserys' motivation and devotion to Rhaenyra is also based in guilt about Emma. And I don't, like that really, for me, that takes a little bit away from his relationship with his daughter. I don't know if it's true or not, but it bums me out to think that, one of the redeeming qualities I liked about Viserys was how devoted he was to Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
There's like all these memes going around of like how when you have 8 children, but you clearly have a favorite, but you pretend like you don't. But like we really did see Viserys drag his carcass out of his deathbed.
You called it a carcass.
To go stand up for his daughter again. Mm-hmm. It might be guilt doing that, but I don't want it to be.
Agreed.
I don't want it to be guilt making him do that. And if it is, I guess, but I don't want it to be true.
Yep, I agree. Like I think it is, honestly. I've been reading like it just being I put my foot down on this and I'm gonna because of your mom, and I made that promise and now I just have to. But it's fine for me. It's fine. I totally get what you mean, and I don't even disagree with you. But I guess I'm just sort of over like reading his motivations. Whatever. And there's also a moment where we see everybody's reaction to Vaemond, and we see Helena putting her hands over her ears, which I kind of liked, because that felt like a reaction that somebody who has like a certain sensory issue would have, where other people would react covering their eyes. And that's not what is doing it for her. That's like affecting her. And that could be because she apparently is going to have like supernatural abilities, I guess.
Have you seen anybody talking about how she might be kind of like autistic or something?
I haven't seen anybody talking about it, but it seemed pretty obvious to me that's what they were doing. I saw
a couple of people mention it, like the thing with the bugs and, and all that. But I don't know. I don't know if I feel comfortable saying one way or the other.
Yeah,
but
it's the kind of thing that I'm just really tired of, like somebody being autistic or just neurodivergent, but we're also going to tack on a superpower with it.
Yeah.
Because they do that so much. And I'm just like, oh, really? So I just kind of like have steered away from talking about it because I don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't remember this being anything in the books, but I could just have, sort of sailed right past it and not noticed. I don't think this was anything though.
So then we go to Rhaenys watching the Silent Sisters tend to Vaemond's body and his 2 halves of his head. And then Maester is kind of trying to tell Rhaenys like you don't want to be here for this. It's you're too. He doesn't say it, but it sounds very much like him being like, this is not for the weak. Most people can't. Most people shouldn't see this. He tries to frame it like, oh, it's ill luck or whatever. And she is like, listen, sir, you might not know me very well, but let me tell you about myself. I have met the stranger more than I care to count. And that bitch doesn't care whether I'm watching or not. It's just going to do what it does.
Yep.
Oh, it's so good. And we didn't need this really graphic scene, right? we didn't really need this, but I like that we got it. And there's a really long, lingering close up of her face, just sort of watching his body be prepared. And I don't know, y'all. It was inscrutable. I can't tell what she was thinking.
Inscrutable.
She didn't do like anything with her mouth to suggest like a smirk or like satisfaction or happiness, but there was also like no overt grief or disappointment. It was just is implacable? No, that means when you can't be. What is implacable?
Implacable is like inevitable, I think. Where it's sort of let me look it up. But I always sort of saw it as like it cannot be changed or moved. Really. It says unappeasable, unforgiving.
Oh, that's good. It's not what I meant, but that's good.
Yeah, that works. I was reading it not necessarily as like aggressive as this is putting it, but yeah, okay. Unable to be placated is where it's coming from. That implacable part. Yeah.
So yeah, then we go to the family dinner, which every single beat of this was practically perfection.
Yeah, this was very good.
It really was. It opens with fucking Alicent wanting to say a prayer, which is what we do now in this raggedy ass house with these terrible children that you have. And the prayer is whatever, and then she has to slip in a little prayer for Vaemond. To which Damon laughs.
Again. Like, oh, we're just doing this. All right.
Fuck. And then it's just like a whole scene of Viserys begging and pleading with these people that he loves more than anything else in the world, even more than being king, to just fucking get your shit together.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to ruin yourselves and our house if you don't fucking figure this shit out. And I feel like all of us, maybe, all of us to some degree, this has got to resonate, right? Mm-hmm. All of us have had these moments, I think, in our families, whether we were like really in the middle of it or we were just like witness to these moments. But it was everything. Like, I wanted all of this to be over, even knowing that without the conflict, there's no fucking TV show for me to watch. I didn't even care. In my heart of hearts, all I want, and I think this is something that we all want, even though it doesn't make for great television, is a happy fucking ending. I wanted everything to just like work. I was so ready I was so ready to be like, well, that's the end of the show. It's all going to work out. There's no need for season 2. Everything's going to be just fine.
That was kind of amazing. Everybody toasts each other and then the credits just roll.
Like, it's so weird, like the experience of watching this, right? I didn't believe it as I was watching it. When there started to be this mending,
mm-hmm.
I didn't think it was real. I was watching it being like, oh, Alicent and Rhaenyra are playing. Because remember, we had the fucking toast at the small council from Rhaenyra ages ago. And, it's like 3 episodes, but it might as well have been 20 years ago. Where she toasts. I thought like, oh, we're just doing this performance again.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point, I don't know if it's supposed to be real or not, but I believed it was real.
Agree. Same.
I was like, this is, oh my God, look, they're really going to, oh shit, they're really going to do the thing.
Yeah.
And then it falls apart, you guys. And it was fucking devastating.
It sucked. It's okay. So we have Rhaenyra. She makes her toast about how Alicent has been so steadfast,
mm-hmm.
and nobody has stood by him more loyally than you have, and genuinely seems to move Alicent. Alicent's
mm-hmm.
like looking
mm-hmm.
like she was going to be real defensive, and then she's
mm-hmm.
caught off guard and is like about to cry. Actually,
it does. It really does. It really feels like it.
So then Alicent stands and she toasts Rhaenyra and ends it with, "You will make a fine queen."
Right.
And I was like, what?
Otto's face.
Yep.
Again, great. Another great reaction. But yeah, like, I just...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And when Viserys takes his mask off and it's like, I want you all to look at me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, could have been over the top. Kind of was. But still worked. Like, his face is... I don't know how you look at that and listen to those words and you're not moved. I 100% bought that his family really was... Some of them were really moved by this. I really just... I just bought it completely.
It makes sense that the kids are the ones that it doesn't really hit
mm-hmm.
to me, because
mm-hmm.
when you're a kid, it just doesn't.
Yep.
And you can like get it to a degree, but it's just never going to be the way it is when you're older and you hear this kind of thing.
And also, I think the problem is what allows Rhaenyra and Alicent to have this moment of like maybe coming together is they have a relationship that predates
mm-hmm.
all this acrimony, right?
Mm-hmm.
The kids don't have that.
Yeah.
They don't have a foundation to reach back to that predates all this bullshit. So Yeah, you know, they did this to their children, and now that they're ready to like and willing and able to kind of put it into it, it's too late. You've already spread your fucking poison, you know. And
then we get fucking Aegon needling. He goes up to Baela and he's like, I regret the disappointment you are soon to suffer. But if you ever wish to know what it is to be well satisfied, then you only have to ask.
If
that's my villain sting. This is what I should just do every time Aegon turns up. Yeah, that's what we're doing.
He just, you know, is just walking around begging to be punched right in the fucking face at all times. And it needs to happen, like, expeditiously.
Desperately. I was so happy that Alicent slapped him because she slaps him.
Yeah.
That is a good slap. And I was like, yes, but he needs clearly quite a bit more than that, actually. And Jace stands up, about to, like, try and fight. And Rhaenyra just says, Jace. And he gets a hold of himself.
Yep.
And calms down.
Yep.
And I was like, look at this kid fucking being a lot more mature. Like, he's much more level-headed. And he does a whole little toast of his own. Aemon is standing the whole time he's giving the toast as if he's about to do it. Instead, I think it's just like, I was going to fight for my brother, maybe?
Exactly. Jace stands up like in a fit of like, what the fuck, right? About the deal. And then Aemon stands up like, oh, we doing this? But then Jace does a 180. And it literally leaves Aemon standing there looking like an idiot for no fucking reason. Like, why are you still standing? And he has to sit down.
He is such a goon. Oh my God. I just can't. He's like, there is something about the hair and the eye patch that I'm just like, all right, pick one. don't do both of these. You're just too much, sir. Enough. And I know that's not fair at all. It's fine. It's also like somehow he has aged past his brother by 10 years. Because
this is
Aegon
the thing,
is the
right?
older brother, but he looks like 14.
There was a lot of talk about the height difference, which I have to admit, I even made a joke about it, like when we had previews for this episode before I think it aired. Like, I was just like, because the casting has been, I think, really good along the time jumps, right? But when I saw these two kids, I was just like, wait, what the fuck happened? And I don't, and I, for a second, I was like, wait, are we supposed to think that there's some paternity issues going on with this kid? You know, like, did Alicent fuck Daemon and I just didn't make it to the show? Like, what is happening here?
Can you imagine?
Right? But so I was like fixated on the height difference, but you are right. Just their faces. Aemon looks like he's like 5 to 6 years older than Aegon. Aegon has still has like a baby face. It doesn't have anything to do with his height. His face just looks younger.
Yeah, way younger.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just a whole way that, like, the way that Aemon carries himself as well. He's like a panther. Whereas Aegon is like, he's like a baby bear, but not like cute. It's just like, you know, sort of rolling around, just causing trouble and mayhem, like a kitten. That it's just like, what are you getting into now? What are you doing? God, get out of there. Stop it, you know? So yeah, all of this looks like, oh, hey, we're going to have a nice time. Jace takes Helena to do a little dance.
My God, Helena stands up and like when they're fucking congratulating on the kids being betrothed, and Helena stands up. She's like, marriage isn't so bad. Mostly he just ignores you unless he's drunk. What?
This bitch is just like, look, you all know already. I don't have to fucking lie.
Like, I loved it. Like, she got up there and she goes, nobody else is saying shit about how terrible this fucking kid is. So I was here for it. Like, yeah, girl, tell her.
So yeah, we get like a little montage of everybody being okay for a minute.
Beautiful.
And you see like Alicent and Rhaenyra smiling at each other, and Viserys looking between the two of them, realizing, and like, there's just some satisfaction finally for this poor man.
Yeah, he's watching everything. The camera really makes it feel like you're watching through his eyes as he's seeing his family and interact with each other like a fucking family.
Yep.
And he's just so relieved and so happy, and then is like overcome and has to leave. Not just overcome, but also it's been a long day for him.
Yeah, it has.
And it does feel like his body is like being like, okay, finally, this is it. This is what we wanted to see.
This acting when he finally has had too much and he just slides over in his chair, like his head is too heavy to hold up. That is some good. And they just pick his whole chair up. They're not even trying to like get him to walk or anything.
Yeah,
they're just
that's
like,
how they brought him in. That's how they bring him in for dinner.
That's true. That's true. I forgot.
Yeah, nobody has time for that long ass walk like he did to the throne.
Thank God. Tired just watching him.
And then right as he's being escorted out, I think is when someone is bringing in like the main course, right? Which happens to be this giant pig.
So then we get Vaemond and his fucking toast. To my nephews, who are so wise and handsome and strong. And everybody's like, God fucking damn it.
Even Alicent is like, dude, what the fuck? Why would you do that?
We're just having a nice time finally.
And here you fucking go.
Well, I'm just proud of my mother, or proud of my family mother. It seems my nephews aren't as proud of theirs.
What do you think? Like, why does Vaemond, is he just like, what is the deal with Vaemond, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
He's a pot stirrer. He just likes to stir the pot.
Just like so dissatisfied. Like, because I was like, all right, is he holding a grudge about the eye? Because you know what? That's valid. They took an eye. That's 100% valid. But it didn't feel like it was just that.
I think it's, everybody's going to be all fucking cute because daddy was here and he made you makeup.
Yeah, right.
You still had bastard children. You're still trying to play us and we all still fucking know. So let's all stop pretending that everything is fine and we can all just walk away from it when we goddamn well know when the sun rises, we're going to be in the same place we were.
Yeah.
That's kind of the vibe I'm getting from him.
Yeah, he's the relative that doesn't like believe in all the family just pretending like everything is okay, which is also sometimes really necessary in a family, you know. Fuck.
Yeah, he's like a total bitch and ruined this moment, but I don't really know if he hadn't that it would have stayed anyway, you know.
That's the question. That is a real good question. Like, part of me feels like one of the reasons why Alicent is ready to be like, Rhaenyra, you will make a fine queen, is because she's so disgusted with Aegon. Right? That helps her get to this moment where she has, like, I guess we can imagine she's finally been like, you know what? You shouldn't fucking be king. You are terrible.
Yeah.
Right?
I like that.
But and otherwise it's like a huge leap for Alicent to make. And it, you know, just on the strength of Viserys's very heartfelt wishes, you know. So that's what I was thinking and why I was able to believe like she was being sincere. But fucking, you're right. The next morning Alicent would have had to contend with her father. Her father still would have been saying the same shit.
Yeah.
There's still a whole contingent of people that have supported the Greens who don't want to see Rhaenyra queen. So yeah, would this truce really have stuck? I guess you're right. I don't think it would have.
Yeah.
That sucks.
It would be very nice to be like, well, you know, Alicent clearly did have a massive change of heart here that maybe she could have gotten other people to see her point of view, but could she? Like, this was all a very private affair about the emotions of being family.
Exactly.
You know,
and even though it has to be covert, the campaign to see Aegon ascend instead has actually been fairly public.
Mm-hmm.
It's public enough that people have picked sides, you know, even though we're not allowed to like say the words out loud, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So how does she convince all those people that she's riled up and garnered support from over these last however many years? How does she tell them she switched?
Yeah.
Without outing how terrible her son is. You know,
Mm-hmm.
she can't tell the realm, oh yeah, he can't be king because he's a fucking drunk rapist. So like, what does she say? And you know,
I feel like the only thing that would work is just, it's my husband's dying wishes.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
and that
Yep.
would probably hold for a time, but I don't think it would be enough
Yeah.
for most of them.
And that's because you have to circle back to the truth of why people don't want Rhaenyra to be queen, which is really doesn't have anything to do with Aegon. It has to do with they don't want a woman,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
right?
100%.
So yeah, I mean, before you know it, they would just be arguing that Aemon should be king then, because that the point is not to have Rhaenyra, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's
So-
probably true, especially since like Aemond is such a fighter, and a
Mhm.
lot of men would just inherently respect that and say
Absolutely.
like, oh yeah, that's enough. He can be king because he can
Absolutely.
swing a sword.
He's like, you know, he's a fighter. He's a Targaryen. He looks the part. He's got a dragon. Like, yeah, they would throw that motherfucker the crown without two thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So then we get this weird little bit here where a mysterious cloaked figure is going down an alley somewhere in King's Landing and coming to meet with Mysteria.
Yeah, she pops up in this episode.
Yeah. And we don't actually see who this person is that is like reporting to her.
Mm-hmm.
And I have like most people are of the assumption that we aren't actually supposed to know who this is. Like it's a woman, but I don't remember her face. And maybe we were supposed to like recognize her from earlier in the episode, that she's like a maid in the house or something.
Oh,
But-
I'm waiting for. I'm trying to fast forward so I can see her face too.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Because she was
That's-
not ringing familiar for me.
It's so dark.
Maybe she's the one who made the tea. I didn't
That's
pay a
what-
lot of attention to her.
That was my guess. I haven't seen the face yet, but my guess is that it's probably the person that made the tea.
Okay.
But I'm just fucking. It's just taking forever.
But yeah, she says to Mysteria, because all Mysteria says, it's been quite a night at the castle, it seems. And she says yes, and then we cut away again for a bit.
Yeah.
And go back to Viserys, and he is just having a bad time. The vibe here is that it's worse than it's ever been, you know, and poor Allison is trying to help, but he hasn't been wanting to take anything. She's trying to coax him and finally manages, but it has to be pretty bad for him to be like willing to drink this at this point after having just been like, no, I don't want to do that today. I guess he just probably figures my work is done mostly.
Mm-hmm. The woman in the robe is the person that brought the tea. That Taylor person.
Taylor.
That is like, I think supposed to be like really close to Allison specifically. Like her, like, what do you call them?
Handmaid?
Yes. Something along the lines. Like she's not just like somebody that's in the castle, you know?
Gotcha. But okay, so then we get Viserys' dying words. And he says, I'm sorry, but you wanted to know if I believe it to be true. And she says, believe what to be true? And he says, don't you remember? So he thinks he's talking to Rhaenyra?
Yes. He's finishing because Rhaenyra had stopped to ask him as she goes to visit him at night before the fucking petition thing in the throne room to beg Viserys to, you know, come and speak for her. And she asked him about the Song of Ice and Fire and all that. And did he really believe it?
Mm-hmm.
So this is him answering her that he believes it.
And he's talking about the prince that was promised. And she says, Prince Aegon? And he just keeps talking to unite the world against the cold and the dark.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, look, I understand that Rhaenyra or that Alicent is like misinterpreting, but he's clearly not talking to you. Like, it's just so obvious to me that he's being like, don't you remember about a conversation you never had? It was not meant for you.
The only thing, and I got really annoyed watching this because, not because the show did anything bad, but just because it was like, pissed me off that like we're about to start this whole thing on the fact that she completely misunderstood what he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
But the only inch I'll give Alicent in this moment is that when you are caring for someone who is out of it so often, you're the one who spends the most time with them, which I think we're supposed to think is how this goes, because we've seen her like tending to him late at night so many times, that you just start to believe you have a way of understanding and communicating with the person that other people don't have, right? Especially if other people aren't spending like intimate time talking to this person. And I have to imagine that nobody else is in these chambers at night talking to Viserys except Alicent. You know, the Maesters probably come and go. Otto even probably doesn't spend that much time with him in these moments.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine she has got herself thinking that, I have been doing this enough that I can tell what he means. But she's just completely wrong. But she's giving herself like credit that she can understand something that she really can't.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like just because she feels like, yeah, I've spent so much time with him in these late nights when he's all fucked up. I know what he means. You guys don't understand him because you don't spend enough time with him, but I know what he means.
Yeah.
And she's just fucking wrong.
This is like, I don't know. This is kind of rough for me because it feels like, why would she think that he went through this entire fucking thing today to then just secretly tell her, oh, but really make Aegon king? Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense for her to take it that way.
That's the bit, right? That's such a good point.
I'm just like, he fucking suffered all day to deliver this particular message, and you think that the moment he's got you that he's just gonna take backsies? Like, why would you think that?
Yep.
Again, it just doesn't feel like, it just feels like the show wanting to give a reason for her to do an about face again, instead of just having it be that maybe she didn't really mean it. They don't want to like have her be aggressive about it. It's her, oh, I came to terms with the fact that my children won't be ascending the throne, but then he did this thing, and so now, despite the peace that I thought I was going to have achieved by letting that go, I have to, against my better judgment and wishes, turn around and start this conflict back up again.
Yeah. Which
just puts her in the position of being this like weird martyr. And like, why couldn't it have just been, no, somebody is wanting something and they did what they needed to in the moment to say what they needed to say, and they're just gonna keep fighting for what they, you know?
Yeah.
It just, again, they just keep softening everybody's motivations to make everyone more likable and almost take the responsibility out of their hands regarding some things. And I don't really see the point of doing that. It's just a way of acting like it's all just one big misunderstanding between everybody. And I'm like,
it's like a giant
people are
Company
bad
episode.
people sometimes. It's fine. People make calculated decisions. It's like, that's why does it have to be that she is sort of just mistaken about something?
That's what I was saying earlier. This idea that she is just this ultimate martyr, and that everything that all the bad things that she does, and she does some bad fucking things, you know, the way she handles the people that her son rapes, and the way that they were using their power in Viserys's, you know, illness to go against his wishes and try to disinherit, you know, Jace from Driftmark and all that shit. These are bad things that she is doing, you know. But the show has also given her this sort of constant plausible deniability. I'm not a bad person. I'm just, forced to do this thing because this other thing that's out of my control has happened. And now I have to do X, Y, and Z, and not really giving her ownership of these choices that she's making.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this is deeply frustrating to have to understand that the family unity that was always going to just be a pipe dream, even for me as a viewer, was never really going to be the thing that happened.
Yeah.
And the show chose to spin it this way. I know you probably can't tell me quite yet what happened in the book, but maybe after the next episode, the aftermath of Viserys' death, we'll see. Because I'm curious about that too. Rhaenyra is leaving town soon. From the last scene, she says that they're going to take the family back to Dragonstone, but that she would return on Dragonback. But now that Viserys has died, I'm really curious. It feels to me like this is all the same night, but I don't know if that's entirely true. It felt very much like this is the same night after dinner.
That's what I was,
right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So then they should all still be in King's Landing then. So I'm very curious what happens tomorrow morning when we all find out Viserys has died.
Yeah.
Or do they like not tell us that he died and let everybody leave King's Landing and then try to pull some shit under like the cover of, I was going to say cover of darkness, but that doesn't really work. Sorry. But you know what I mean, right? Like we had this beautiful evening that felt like it was real and that this pettiness was behind us. But now the man who is responsible for protecting Rhaenyra's claim is fucking dead.
Yeah.
And that changes everything. And how quickly do people turn? So I'm really curious what we see next week. Like,
I should point out too, we don't actually see Viserys die. The episode ends with him still alive and speaking.
Oh. You thought so? I thought for sure he was dead.
I mean, it ends
There's like
with
a
him
last
reaching
gasp
towards
and
the
everything.
ceiling and saying "my love," and when he says "my love," the scene's gone black and the credits are starting to roll.
No, yeah, no. I 100% was like, yeah, that dude's dead.
Okay,
that's a death scene. If it turns out not to be, egg on my face.
Well, I'm not even saying that, but like you're talking about. If they're still in King's Landing and they, he is discovered tomorrow, maybe he just hangs on just long enough. There's the possibility that.
I see what you mean. Maybe he doesn't die until a couple hours after they've all gone.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily, duplicity that keeps them. It's just, from knowing that he's died. It's just a timing thing.
Yeah.
I got you. But yeah, no, my interpretation of this moment is that he died right here in the bed just now.
That's fair. So yeah, it ends with him reaching towards the ceiling. Like I said, goes black and he says, "my love." And in an interview, he said that he was seeing Emma. And I was like, I don't think you deserve to, but okay.
Oh shit.
I'm still mad at him for that. It's fine.
Listen. Apparently he's still mad at himself about it.
Yeah, so good. We are both heaping blame onto you, and I'm fine with it. I know that probably I'm supposed to give you more grace than that, but I won't.
I mean, you could just save your grace for actual people that are living. It's fine.
I'm saving grace. All right. So is there anything else you want to say about this before we wrap it up?
No, there is so much. It's too much.
It is too much.
I could have talked a lot more about a lot of other stuff, but we would be doing this for 8 hours and there's no need for that. So
it is wild to me how long we keep going on this, but it doesn't I have to really keep an eye on it because we could definitely talk for longer. It would not be difficult to keep going about any of this. All right. So real quick, I'm going to say hi to our 2 new patrons this week. And you guys know what that means. We have got Alex and Paflad.
Yay!
Welcome to both of you. Thank you so much for signing up. Hope you all are enjoying things. I was telling RoShawn that I've been recording the Unspooked episode for October, and it's spooking me out, but it should be up soon. So by the time y'all hear this, I think it will be coming out the week after, because I will be on vacation next week, which is going to put me and RoShawn even further behind than we already are in keeping up with the show. My question to you was going to be, should we just cover both episodes in one recording?
No, we would be here for 12 hours.
We can't do it.
There's no way we could do that.
Yeah.
We tried to cover 2 Ted Lasso episodes, and that shit was like that show is like 35 to 40 minute episodes, and it's not even this much, this dense. Mm-hmm. And that was a bad idea.
Losing proposition. So I just wanted to let everybody know that we're going to fall even further back. If you're wondering, where are they? I am in a cabin, chilling in a hot tub, having the time of my life. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be gone from the 19th to the 25th. And so you guys won't have a recording for the 28th, right? Yeah, that would be when that would have gone up. And we'll be recording on the 29th, and then you will have your next episode on the 4th of November. My God. It's going to be November, RoShawn.
Maybe maybe we'll have to do something then. I don't know.
See?
Maybe we'll have to record 2 episodes in 1 week. Not 2 episodes at a time, but like 2 episodes in 1 week.
We'll see.
You can get them out a little bit faster. We'll see.
We'll see what
it looks like. I want to tell people who are listening, a little tip. There are videos of Emma Darcy and Olivia Cook, like YouTube things, like promo shit or whatever, but they are adorable together. The actors that play Rhaenyra and Alicent, mm-hmm. They are so cute together. 10/10 recommend. Go watch those. They are adorable.
Yeah, I really love whenever co-stars on something seem to genuinely like each other and get along. It's just nice.
Yeah.
Just a nice thing. All right, everybody. Well, don't miss us too much. I will still, of course, be sharing my opinions in the Discord. RoShawn will be sharing on the Facebooks. And so you'll get a little taste of what we'll probably talk about. But until then, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.